Great. So I'm going to invite you to begin first by taking a moment to observe the way that you're standing, the way that you're using your feet, and where the feet are. So closing the eyes, let your arms drop to your sides. Let your leg bones fall right down towards the earth in a neutral way. And then assess how things feel. If you feel any discomfort, any torque, anything going on in a joint, be curious about it. Maybe there's an adjustment that you can make in the way that your feet are to alleviate that discomfort or slight sensation. So even a slight adjustment in the feet can go a long way to bring ease to ankles, knees, and hips. So allowing for those subtle adjustments now as you figure out what feels like neutral to you. And of course, we're going to drop into our breath now, and I'll invite you to place your left hand at the heart and your right hand at your belly. As we've grown accustomed to beginning and ending our practices this way, I invite you to begin to settle into the breath. In fact, to soften into the breath, allowing the hands on your body to give you some feedback around the breath. Softening in the shoulders, softening the muscles around the clavicle, just generally observing the way that the body is dropping into the breath. Noticing the way that you can breathe into your hands. As we set forth on our practice together this morning, I'll invite you to consider the image of a golden thread of light, connecting all of us from our individual environments and creating a web of sacred space. We'll relax our arms at our sides and prepare to move into breath of joy. So the body movement with our breath includes a little shock absorber bounce happening in our knees. So we're going to let our knees be soft and flowy. And we're going to bounce a little bit as we swing the arms forward and up on the first sip to shoulder height in front of us. Down and out to the sides of the shoulders on the second sip, and down and all the way up on the third sip. On the exhale, we fall forward and let the arms swing with momentum, swinging right back up into the first sip. So it goes something like this. Inhale, 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 exhale. Inhale, 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 exhale. Forward, side, overhead, exhale. Forward, side, overhead, exhale. Forward, side, overhead, exhale. Remember to bend your knees. Let out some sound on the exhale. Encouraging even more oxygen into the lungs. Challenging the lungs. Filling them up. Pushing the breath out. Stay with it. Last time, we're going to hang forward over our legs, exhaling and dropping the arms like a rag doll, letting the body hang completely to gravity, noticing the way that you're using your feet, resting the belly completely on the thighs. Continue to drop the arm bones to gravity. Gently turn the head, letting go in the neck. Breathing deeply here. With your next inhale, find a flat back position. Place the hands in front of the shin bones, extend the spine, and keep the crown of the head extending forward with the back of the neck elongated. Exhale to melt down over bent knees, full surrender. Inhale to Ardha Uttanasana. We're back to our flat back, pressing down into the big toes. Pull the shoulders away from the ears. Exhale to melt down, full surrender. One more time, inhaling, pulling the shoulders back, drawing the heart forward. Exhaling, full surrender. Inhale, pressing into the toes, rolling up through the body, head heavy, arms heavy, giving yourself a little spinal massage here, gradually coming up to stand. Once again, we're going to arrive in Tadasana and just pay attention for a moment, observing the sensations in the body. We're going to move forward into a few more standing salutations. Inhaling, arms stretching overhead, Utthita Tadasana. Sink the heels, float the heart. Exhale, we're going to swan dive forward, wrapping the arms around the legs now. Give the legs a hug. Allow for that hug to open up the space between the shoulder blades. Inhale, find your flat back position. Pull the shoulder blades back. Exhale, melt down, full surrender. Inhale, rolling up to standing camel. Hands come behind the hips. We soften in the knees. We direct the tailbone towards the toes and float the heart open. Using hands to support a soft pelvis, an easy low back, we direct the tail down and float the heart up. Shoulders dropping down, elbows rolling back, taking another breath here. Let the chin rest at the notch of the throat. Inhale, use your hands to support the hips as you come back to neutral, And the next breath, stretching the arms all the way back up, Utthita Tadasana, big extension through the spine. Exhale, swan diving forward, wrapping arms around the legs, giving yourself that hug. Inhale, flat back position, shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, melting down. Inhale, rolling up, heavy arms, heavy head, toes pressing, hands behind the hips, directing the tailbone down and towards the toes. We float the heart back up, standing camel. Take the chin to the notch at the throat, avoid strain in the neck. Take another big breath here, find the front of the body. Inhale, pressing into the hips as you rise back up, protecting the low back, and then inhale, second breath takes the arms back, Utthita Tadasana. One more time, exhaling, folding forward, wrapping arms around the legs, big hug. Love those legs. Inhaling, flat back position, shoulders away from the ears, engaging the upper spine. Exhaling, melting down, full surrender. Inhaling, rolling up one more time, Ustrasana. Hands behind the pelvis, directing the tailbone towards the toes, soft in the hips. We float the heart, finding the breath across the heart space, maybe even across the hips. Inhaling, rising up. Again, the arms are going to reach overhead, Utthita Tadasana. And we're going to grab a hold of the left wrist with the right hand, taking crescent, standing crescent, reaching to the right now. We're tugging perhaps with the right hand, pulling that left arm overhead. We might prefer to drop the right arm at our sides or adjust the arms any other way that suits your shoulders. Float the heart, check in with the neck. Maybe it makes sense to turn the head a little bit from side to side here. Breathing deeply into that left side of the body, rooting into the left foot, floating the heart space. Inhaling to come up. We'll take it over to the other side now, slowly shifting. The left arm pulls the right arm overhead now, relaxing the right shoulder, possibly feeling a little gentle tractioning in that right shoulder. Maybe we're happier dropping the left arm to the side. Breathing deeply into the right side body. Inhaling, coming all the way back up, palms together overhead. Exhaling, palms to the heart space now, gazing at the fingertips, just resting your drishti, your focal point, to the heart space. Inhaling, stretching the arms open and up. We're going to move to eagle pose. So wrapping the right elbow under the left, Garudasana. We step into our bird's eye view here. Elbows squeezing together at the midline, hands away from the face. Now we have the option to move into a potential balance here. You can bend your knees and pause, keeping things on both legs. That's a great place to move into. If you're feeling a little more adventuresome, you could take the right knee and cross it over the left knee, resting the right toes on the floor like a kickstand. alternately, those right toes can try to curl up behind the left ankle if that feels like a happy place for you. So we've got lots of options here. As you like, consider lowering the pelvis and hollowing the belly. Squeezing the elbows, floating the hands away from the face, finding whatever feels like your eagle in this moment, allowing your inner eagle to emerge. Following your focus, lifting from the core, and moving back, opening up and pressing into both feet as your wings expand out and up overhead. Root down into the earth, pause with the palms together overhead here. Consider taking Kali Mudra, right thumb over left, index fingers extended. Let the arm bones reach as far as possible overhead. Extend your inner line of energy down into the earth through the heels and up to the stars through those index fingers. Feeling yourself a conduit of divine energy. When you're ready to find your perch again, slowly unfurl your wings and then wrap the left elbow under the right. Elbows at the midline at shoulder height, hands away from the face. Establishing the action in the arms, we can move into the legs, bending the knees and hanging there on 2 feet. Or possibly crossing left knee over, resting left toes on the floor like a kickstand. Possibly taking the left toes around the back of the right ankle. Hollowing the belly, squeezing knees and elbows. We can find that effortlessness that exists within the pose as we wrap ourselves up and maintain a strong drishti. Looking at the big picture. Once again, following your natural impulse, expand back up, arms overhead, rooting down into the earth with the heels, returning to Kali Mudra for 3 more breaths, returning to this strong line of energy. Releasing the arms at your sides, just pause again, just simply observing the sensations in the body. This might be a nice time to gently move into the neck. Now that we've got our juices flowing, we might drop the chin and lift the chin a couple times. Gentle in the neck. Dropping the chin and then rolling the head like a pendulum a couple times. I invite you to notice as the weight of the head rolls from side to side, the subtle shifts in the body. The way that the shoulders naturally roll and shift with the weight of the head. The way that the arms naturally fall with the weight of the head. Rolling the head gently from side to side. Maybe there's a shift in the feet as well. Be curious about the subtleties in the body here. Coming to a neutral neck, crown of the head rising slowly. Let's go ahead now and turn sideways on our mat. We're going to take goddess pose, and we're going to use that as a center pose between a few standing lunges. So we'll move into a few warrior poses and some triangle through our goddess as home base. So the ankles are going to be at about shoulder width, perhaps even a little bit wider. The toes are out in line with however your knees move. So remember, the knees are going to be, the position of the knees is determined by your pelvis. So the toes are determined by the position of the knees. So allow everything to be happy as you lower into goddess. Allowing things to be natural in whatever turnout is happy for you in your hips. Elbows out at shoulder height, palms open. Let's attempt to take our toes off the floor. Pushing strongly into the floor with the feet while keeping the toes lifted if you can. Take another breath here, tailbone heavy, heart high. We might push down into the floor to lower the pelvis, and then push down into the floor to straighten up. Lengthening arms and legs, the toes simply pivot forward to find five-pointed star. So in five-pointed star, our feet are parallel, toes forward, heels back. Arms are open, and I encourage you to find your back here. So open the arms and press down isometrically so you feel the shoulder blades engage in the back. Consider that your arms are your wings, and they are attached in the middle of your back, closer to your spine. Keep reaching through the arms and root down now, even more strongly to the outside edges of the feet. Lifting the inner arches, continuing to feel this expansion of energy. We're connected and extending our golden threaded web of light and love through our fingers, out through the crown of the head. And we're going to come back to our goddess pose now, rotating the toes out and lowering the pelvis. Elbows at shoulder height, toes are high, hips are low. Take another big breath here, push into the feet, push down into the feet. Keep pushing into the feet as you come back up to stand. And we're gonna rotate towards the right foot now. Bring the hands to the hips as you transition. A little toe heel action, a little pivoting in your feet, and you're facing the right side of your mat for warrior one. Hands are at the hips as you release and melt that left hip towards the front of the mat. Eventually, take the hands behind the head, open the armpits, open the elbows, float the heart. Consider hanging here or extending the arms if you like. Keep reaching through the back leg and extending through the fingers. Once again, we're tapping into this web of light. Reaching through the fingers, rooting down into the earth with our legs, feeling fully supported and sustained by Mother Earth. Open up your wingspan as you reach to warrior two, rotating the left toes open a tiny bit and drawing the left side back. Left shoulder, left hip opens up. The gaze is past the right hand. And we're pushing strongly into the floor with both feet. See if you can find your steadiness in the breath and the action rooting down into Mother Earth. As you extend through your arms, once again, we reverse the warrior. Keep that sense of reach, even through the left arm. We're going to lengthen the right leg and adjust the feet. I like to close my stance before moving to triangle so that I can feel perfectly confident in my foundation. Shifting slowly the pelvis away from the right big toe. Finding sacred geometry here together. Rotating open, rolling the left hip back, rolling the left shoulder open, pressing into the floor with both feet, lifting the inner thighs. Consider turning the head from right hand to left hand a couple times, just noticing the neck. Also, noticing where the left hand is in relation to the body. We're going to keep our gaze on the right hand now and return, reversing the warrior. The tailbone drops as the right arm reaches high. So from here, we're going to come right on back to five-pointed star, rotating the toes forward, resetting and stabilizing in a nice neutral position here. Arms extended. Rooting to the outside edges of the feet, lifting the inner thighs, feeling your wings attached to your back. The legs are long, the heart is high. Take another big breath here. And hands come to the hips. We rotate towards the left foot now. A little pivot in the feet. The right foot might need to step to the right side of the mat so that you have each foot in its own lane. We're going to make sure the right foot is on a slight angle towards your new right front corner of the mat. And then the hands might choose to come up to the head, opening armpits, opening elbows. We might choose to extend the arms, floating the heart, sinking the pelvis, finding softness in the hips, as we extend through the back leg and connect energetically through the arms, out through the fingertips. Breathing deeply here, opening up. Continue to expand your wings as you rotate open to warrior two now. Allowing the tailbone to drop towards right down beneath the crown of the head so that we're aligned in our spine upright. Action down to the outside edge of the back foot. Gaze is past the left fingers. The palms are pressing down isometrically. Steadying yourself in the pose through the breath. Really extending your wings, reversing the warrior. Left arm to the sky. And then left leg lengthening. Once again, we adjust the feet before moving to triangle pose. Shifting the pelvis away from the left big toe. We roll open across the shoulders. Pulling the pelvis away from the left big toe. Checking in, looking up to the right hand, down to the left hand. Pressing into the feet and lifting the inner thighs. Rolling the right hip open. Stay with the breath here. Continue to reach through the wings as you reverse the warrior. Left knee bending, tailbone dropping, left arm high. And we're going to come back open now. One more time, dropping into goddess. Lowering the pelvis, settling in. Toes are high. Elbows are open. Pushing into the floor. Lowering the pelvis and really accessing the earth through your feet. Pushing down as you come back up to stand. And let's toe heel the feet forward to an open straddles. Toes are forward, hands behind the back. We come to a flat back position here. Continuing to root down to the outside edges of the feet as we lift the inner thighs. So we're not lowering our heart beneath our hips. The heart is coming straight forward rather than down. Pull the shoulders back and the heart forward. Take another big breath here. Lots of action in those legs. On an exhale, hands are going to release and slide down to the ankles as we bend the knees and lower the hips to a deep squat. So separate the feet as wide as you need to be comfortable here. We're going to lower, and then we're going to extend the legs gently as we lower the head. On the inhale, we lower the pelvis and draw the heart forward. On the exhale, we lower the head and float the tailbone. We're not expecting straight legs. We're just greasing the wheel here. Nice and gentle, back and forth, focusing on the breath and relaxing in the hips and the hamstrings. Active in the feet. Active in the abdomen. Each exhale, the abdomen pulls in. Last time, we're going to hold the forward fold, continuing to get a grip on your ankles, your calves, letting the head drop, activating the feet, floating the tail, hollowing the belly on the exhale. Let go in the neck. So I'm going to invite you to walk your hands towards your left foot and bend the left knee. Just hug the left leg and just hang out there for a few breaths. The right leg is long, the left knee is bent, and we're just kind of hanging out over that left leg, giving it a hug. We're getting a gentle stretch on the inside of that right leg, yes? Couple more breaths here. Active feet, active abdomen. Walking the hands over towards the other leg, right knee bending, left leg lengthening. Again, we hang over that right leg, gently dropping the body over a bent right knee, hugging the right leg, and breathing into that long left leg. Taking another big breath here. With our hands over towards the right leg, I'm going to invite you to place your hands beyond the right foot and start pivoting towards that side of the mat, like you're playing Twister. And you can walk your feet back now, landing in a downward facing dog, pedaling through the feet, shifting weight from hip to hip, heel to heel, and take your time here. Let this downward facing dog be more serpentine. Allow for plenty of movement and exploration in the joints here, exactly as it feels right to you. And when you're ready, release to a supported child pose. Give yourself permission to use pillow or blanket underneath the knees, underneath the belly, underneath the forehead, taking advantage of any and all props you may have at hand. Resting in a supported child pose now. Deep breathing here. Surrendering the weight of the bones to gravity. Gently rock your forehead on whatever surface it's resting on. Check in with the neck, the scalp, the jaw. Invite the arm bones to fall even more heavily with the next exhale. We're going to take our time coming slowly up. We'll make our way onto all fours. So here, we'll take a few cat-cows. Inhaling, tucking toes and shifting weight into the hips. Exhaling, rounding spine, hollowing the belly. Gently rolling from crown to tail here. Finding the action in the feet, the action in the fingers. And we're going to make our way now into our twisting sequence. So right arm is going to extend to the sky with a big breath in, reaching up with the right arm, rooting down with the right knee. On an exhale, the right arm scoops under. Here we might rest the head on a blanket or block. We're pressing the left palm into the right palm and finding a rotation at the top of the spine. Maybe if we like to float the left arm overhead, first we're rooting down with the back of the right arm. We might prefer to keep the left hand pressing down as a point of leverage for our twist. Relax the hips here, relax the groins. Allow for a little bit more release in the low back and then come back to the twist at the top of the spine. Breathing here and letting that right ear drop. On an inhale, left hand presses down. We'll rise up and open right leg out to the side. Sole of the right foot is flat, toes forward. Right arm reaches up to the sky as we rotate towards the right toes. Heart space towards the right toes. So it's a big twist here. We're dropping the weight of the right leg as we rotate towards it. This is giving us a release in the right hip. Spacious in the left shoulder. Right arm might like to fall behind the back. Head might like to fall to gravity. Breathing here and observing. Dropping the right leg. From here, we're moving to gate pose, engaging the core. The right hand is on the right leg. We push into the legs and reach up with the left arm. Then the left arm can start to stretch towards the right, perhaps focusing on dropping the right side of the pelvis. So it's a challenge here. This is a very awkward pose. Yes, you are feeling awkward and it's hard. Let the sole of the right foot drop even more strongly to the floor. Let the pelvis fall, tailbone heavy, and focus on reaching up with the left arm, finding as much space in the left side body as possible. Stay with it. Activate down into the floor with the feet. Maybe find just a little bit more release in the low back, in the pelvis. And when you feel complete, engaging the core, we place the hands back on the mat. And then we return the right knee in. And we're going to swing the hips here from side to side and around to the back. So we're making a big horseshoe shape with our hips. Swinging them around so that we're getting a nice release in the hip there. Should feel just right. And keep moving into the hips until you're feeling ready to explore our twist on the other side. Resetting to a neutral position. As you're ready, the left arm extends to the sky. Left knee will be rooting, left arm reaching. On an exhale, the left arm scoops down. Left ear might rest on a block or pillow, right palm pressing. Bring your attention to your hips. Relax the groins. Reset the knees if necessary. Accommodate and seek neutral. And then roll the right shoulder over the left shoulder, softening the left ear to the mat. Maybe it feels nice to reach the right arm to the sky and root into the back of the left arm. Breathing deeply here. Taking another breath or two, letting the left ear drop, rolling the right shoulder back. When you're ready, unwinding, right hand presses down, left leg extends out to the side now, and then left arm to the sky. So we open up towards the left leg is extended long. Once again, sole of the foot is flat, heart is high, right shoulder spacious. Letting the left foot fall through the floor. We're rotating the torso to face the left foot and releasing in the left hip. Maybe it feels good to let go in the neck. Maybe it feels good to let go in the left arm, let it fall. The right shoulder stays spacious. The left leg is falling. Breathing into the left hip. Once again, we're going to transition to our gate pose. Left hand on the left leg, pushing into the floor with the legs. Right arm reaches high. We engage the core to rise up. Invite the left side of the pelvis to drop here. You might even use your left thumb and give it a little nudge. Dropping the left side of the pelvis, allowing for the pelvis to find as much neutrality as possible. Right arm stretches high. We keep pressing into the floor with the feet to stabilize. Opening up right side body, surrendering pelvis to neutral. Taking a few more breaths here, accepting this challenge, moving through by softening into the breath. Coming out of gate pose, we engage the core to return the hands carefully to the mat, and then place the left knee next to the right knee. And we can return to some happy movements in the hips, swinging them around like a horseshoe, or moving back into cat-cow if that feels right to you. Here we're going to press into a downward facing dog. One more time, stretching it out, activating the fingers, activating the legs, opening up the armpits, pressing strongly through the first two fingers and the thumbs, using leg strength to draw the pelvis up and away. Maybe the heels are dropping, maybe they're not, doesn't matter. Maybe the knees are soft and you can find even more extension through your spine with soft knees. Exploring Adho Mukha Svanasana for a few more breaths. And we're going to go ahead and release to our knees once again and come to a seated position, bringing the legs around to the front. We're going to sit in Baddha Konasana. So soles of the feet are together in Baddha Konasana. You might choose to prop your pelvis on a pillow or a blanket. It's often much more accessible to find a neutral spine with that little prop under the pelvis. The soles of the feet are touching and the knees are falling away from the ears. We've done a nice job warming up our legs and our hips here. So I invite you first to take your time just paying attention to the way that the pelvis and the hips are landing on the earth. Allow the leg bones to be heavy, and remember it's very helpful in inviting release in the muscles to support underneath the joints and the leg bones here. So feel free to prop underneath those knees so that the groins really can melt. They don't have to be holding up the weight of the leg bones. And with the support underneath the legs or without, if you prefer, you can then rest the arms on the legs like a ballast, like sandbags. Relaxing the weight of the arm bones downward. We can touch the index and thumb tips together and curl the other fingers in Chinmaya Mudra. And we'll spend some time now breathing into the pelvic bowl. Allow your attention to melt down to the pelvis. And with each breath, softening there. Softening into the breath, softening into the lowest part of the abdomen, softening into the groins, softening into the base of the spine, noticing that sense of melt that becomes available when you invite it. Take a moment to notice where your shoulders are. Invite them to soften away from the ears. Notice where the holding remains in the way that we're attempting to control something in our hips. And see in the next few breaths if you can surrender just a little bit more in the groins. Allow yourself to sit just a little bit more fully on Mother Earth. Resist less. Melt more. Let's move to a forward fold of your choice. If you'd like to keep the legs in Baddha Konasana, I recommend sliding the feet further forward for this forward hinge. The other option is to extend the legs in Upavista Konasana in a straddle, and come forward here. Or you might choose to extend the legs straight forward in Paschimottanasana. So either of those three options, whatever speaks to your body here, surrendering to gravity and inviting support. So again, whatever props you may possibly have at hand, take advantage of them. Pillows to fill underneath the belly, or forehead, dropping the weight of the bones and surrendering those leg bones to the earth, continuing to invite the melt of the pelvic bowl. Deep oceanic breathing here. With your next inhale, slowly transitioning from your forward melt, we're going to make our way to a neutral spine, rising up, Pausing, aligning crown over tail for a moment and just observing sensations in the body. Noticing the groundedness of the pelvis and the legs. When you feel ready to move, let's make our way onto our back into happy baby. Feel free to use a little support underneath your head if this pose causes strain in your neck. Rolling onto your back and opening in happy baby. We'll complete our external rotation with this pose here. Dropping the weight of the knees towards the armpits, hovering the ankles over the knees, and using whatever grip works for you. Some people like to grab at the back of the knees or the calf muscles. Some people like to grab big toes or ankles. Whatever grip works for you, then let the weight of the arm bones fall to gravity. Surrender muscular tension from this pose. Tailbone dropping, skull dropping, shoulders dropping. Coming back to our observation of the breath and the way that we can soften into the breath. Gathering the knees in towards the chest. Rest the upper arm bones on the mat at your sides and let the hands hold the knees so that you can just relax the legs completely. Let them be loosey-goosey in your hands. Your upper arm bones are resting on the floor at your sides. So there's, again, the least amount of muscular tension possible here. We're going to now take ourselves into a brief inversion, placing the soles of the feet flat on the mat. If you have a block or a pillow nearby, we can prop the pelvis if that feels like a happy thing to do. Pressing into the feet, lifting the hips, and sliding that prop underneath the pelvis. As you find the position of the block or pillow under your pelvis, you can then walk your fingertips towards the foot of your mat, bringing the shoulders away from the ears, and eventually float the feet, letting yourself enjoy an easy restorative inversion here, a supported version of shoulder stand. Allowing for the legs to find zero gravity, floating up. Check in with the neck here, chin away from the chest, spacious in the cervical spine. I'll remind you that you are participating in sacred practice, in Sangha, in sacred community, and that our web of golden light is still expanding through us and around us. And that the ancients invited inversion as a way of having the honey of the heart drip towards the brain. Feel free to keep the legs floating in inversion. Or if you like a little bit more hip release, right knee can come in towards the body and the left leg can lower slowly to the earth. Gently holding the right knee and lowering the left leg. With the prop beneath the pelvis, this creates a little bit more opening in the front of that left hip. It might feel like it's too much for some of us. Feel free to come off of the prop at this point. Relaxing across the front of that left hip, taking a couple more breaths here. Maybe moving the right knee gently from side to side. Gathering the left knee and extending the right leg long, super slow motion. Holding the left knee gently, dropping the right leg, breathing across the front of the right hip. Taking your time here. Gentle movements in the left knee until you feel complete and ready to place both soles of the feet flat. We can carefully lift the pelvis by pressing into hands and feet, removing your prop and rolling down through the spine slowly. It might feel so good to roll through the spine that you want to go up and down a couple more times, rolling into bridge and out of bridge. And when you feel complete in that exploration, we can move to our windshield wiper motion, finding the soles of the feet to the side edges of the mat and dropping the legs gently. So knees are bent, feet are separated, and we allow for a slow release of the legs from side to side. We're going to invite the legs to drop towards the left and take a few more breaths, just allowing for melt across the front of the right hip, across the front of the right thigh. We might drop the head away from the knees here and observe that nice spiral in the spine. Taking your time, breathing deeply across the front of the right hip and leg. Opening to the other side. Left knee falling inward, head falling away. Breathing deeply across the left hip, the left quadricep. Slowly coming back to the movement of the windshield wiper, allowing for a little more time here, and then consider how it feels to you in your body. You might be ready to scoop the knees into the chest and take a few breaths in neutral. You might be seeking the sensation of a final twist. So I'm going to invite you here to move exactly as you desire on your way to Shavasana. So taking any final twist that suits you, or you may feel like you're ready to move directly into Shavasana. Listening to the body and moving at will. Maybe a little bit more hip release in our ankle to knee. Maybe a little more gentle rocking. Maybe it'll be like crossing the knees to twist. When we're twisting, we like to bring the knees to the left side of the mat first. Continuing to move exactly as your body requests. And ultimately releasing the limbs in a pose of Shavasana. Finding your way slowly but surely toward that nurturing and restorative pose. I'll remind you that Shavasana is translated as corpse pose. And so even for these brief minutes in our Shavasana practice, you have an opportunity for transformation, an opportunity to invite all that no longer serves you to be released, surrendered to Mother Earth, creating space for new possibilities upon your rebirth, your reawakening. Deepening your breath now. Begin to invite subtle movements in fingers and toes, perhaps fluttering the eyes or dropping the head from side to side. And taking your time, gathering your bones, carefully making your way to a seated position. Bringing left hand to heart, right hand to belly. We can soften again, observing the way that we've arrived on this side of our practice. Observing the natural flow of the breath, the way that we feel deeply connected to Mother Earth through our pelvic bowl, through our root chakra. Once again, I'll remind you of that golden thread of webbed light that connects all of us. And we'll take a deep breath in together, reaching arms overhead. And palms to the heart space, resting forehead to fingertips, acknowledging your inner wisdom with gratitude, acknowledging one another's inner wisdom with gratitude, gratitude for our shared practice and expanded sacred space. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaste.